Hey everyone, Drew Flam here, Vice President of Advancement and Marketing here at Grace College. Excited for our Day of Giving. Thank you to everyone who has already participated, and we hope more of you will join us in the Bring Them Back campaign to help our students, to bring them back to campus. I'm excited to be able to interview one of our students now, Emily, who is a senior, joining us all the way from Oregon. Hi, Emily, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. What are things like in Oregon right now?
Pretty slow right now, as most of the world seems like right now. Currently it's sunny, which I'm very thankful for. I'm appreciating any time I can spend outside.
You know what? I'm finding it the same. If I can get outside, it makes my day a whole lot better. I
Hmm.
can get out of my office slash master bedroom and enjoy the outside for a little bit. So you're a senior at Grace. I have to ask, first of all, how did you get to Grace College from Oregon?
That is a question I get all the time, and I never know the right answer. So I remember having like a short list of 10 schools, which is not a short list at all. And getting to December and feeling like, okay, this is my set list. And just randomly, my mom was like, "Oh, your cousin went to Grace College. You should look into it." And usually, when she was giving additional opinions in my mind, I was like, "Oh, great, but I'm good." And for some reason, I just decided to look into it. And very thankful I did. I remember I was looking at the website and within minutes was like, "Sure, I'll apply. This looks great." I ended up getting recruited for the track team and was able to come out for a visit. And it was just made extremely clear that that was where I was supposed to be. So I had never dreamed that I would be that far away from home. I really love the area that I'm in. So I was not really thinking that I would go far away from home at all, but have appreciated the decision ever since.
Well, we're thankful. Give your mom a big thanks from all of us at Grace College. You've been
Will
a
do.
You've been a welcome addition to the Grace College family. Tell us a little bit about your major and what you are desiring to do with your career. And you're a senior, so kind of what is it like right now looking towards the future with all the uncertainty?
Yeah. So a little bit more about me. I am a double major in entrepreneurship and facility and event management. So very businessy, all in the business department. With that major, I have had a pretty open mind as far as right after college, just anything that will get me experience um, and will help me to grow and learn more about business. Eventually, I would love to start my own business. I was able to participate in the business plan competition last year and had a super fun time with that, developing a plan and coming up with other ideas and other plans since have been a lot of fun. So that is something that I would eventually like to do. um, Being a senior right now and looking for jobs and being at home instead of at school has been bittersweet in a way. Feeling a little bit like college got cut short some, which is hard, and I think is hard for every senior or every student, really. I can't imagine there's a student that was thankful that this happened. I think we're all kind of missing it quite a bit. Um, yeah, it's been challenging in a way. Um, Trying to find jobs has been difficult. There's not a whole lot out there right now. And trying to figure out, is this going to change soon or is it going to be a while till it changes? Um, I had a conversation with someone not long ago that um, we were talking about what it's like being home right now. And I said, in a way, it kind of feels like my focus has shifted. So if I was at school, I'd be able to spend time reminiscing and being with people and enjoying just time with friends and time at school. Whereas now being at home, my focus has entirely shifted to just what's the next step.
Hmm.
Uh, so I've tried to rein that back a little bit and spend time on the phone with friends and on Zoom calls with people, and the house is coming up, so being able to enjoy that. And so yeah, it's I've had to slow myself down a little bit and try to enjoy college even though I'm not there.
we miss students, and my heart especially goes out to seniors, and have been able to talk to a few seniors, and just to imagine what it's like to have your senior year cut short, not have those opportunities to really say goodbye to your friends, to not have the commencement ceremony that you expected. Um, Tell us a little bit about, as a senior, what you and your friends are grieving, how you've worked through these unexpected changes, and your reactions even when the words came, commencement is postponed.
Yeah. So I remember when we got that email that said, we're going to have to move everything online and clear out campus. I think it was sent out at like 2 a.m, and I didn't hear about it till the following morning. And remember just feeling like I was in a movie, like what just happened? And so heading into the office at work, I work in student affairs, and just kind of sitting and talking with people as people, tried to figure out what we do next. The following days after that, I remember feeling like I just needed to make a plan. I needed to figure out, do I go home? Do I stay here? And originally was like very defiant. It's like, I'm not going home. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to figure it out, make it work. After a couple of days, was just kind of urged by family that they would really prefer me home. So ended up coming home sooner than I had originally planned. And I remember the couple days before, I was staying with friends, and we would just like sit and talk about memories. And I've got some very creative friends that take videos and pictures anytime we're doing anything, which is great because I'm terrible at that. And so one of them made like a video compilation of every video that we have together. And I remember just watching it and crying and being like, wow, I'm so thankful that we had all this time together, that we have this many memories, that we're getting to remember. Not long after we came back was the scheduled time that we were supposed to have our junior senior banquet. And I had completely forgotten about it. And then halfway through the day, I got a Google Calendar invite or an invitation, or a reminder. That's the word I'm thinking of. And it was just like, oh, that was supposed to be today. And it was this interesting balance of, it made me incredibly sad right off the bat. And then I was talking to some friends later throughout the day, and we started sending each other pictures of the previous year and starting to think through all of the previous memories that we had going to that banquet as juniors, and just being like, wow, that was such a cool time that we were able to have together. Such fun memories that were able to have. So it's been a very interesting balance of grieving, figuring out how to grieve, and realizing that you can remember and reminisce and be sad that you're missing out on whatever could have happened, but also being incredibly thankful for the time that you did have together. I had a conversation quite a bit ago, with my parents, I think it was, about how God places people in your life exactly when you need them. And that may not be forever. You may not have someone in your life forever, but they'll be there when you need them to be. And that just kind of got me thinking a little bit more about the times that I've had, and how I'm very grateful that God placed people in my life during that time that needed to be there for me. So I've felt a lot of this. I keep calling it happy sad. Like, I'm happy sad. Anytime I start reminiscing a little bit more, there's very mixed emotions, but I try to not isolate them. I try to not just feel sad or just feel happy. I think it's been very helpful for me to experience several things at one time.
That's such a cool response. That's something we've even talked about with our kids, that you can feel two feelings at the same time.
Mhm.
It's okay to be sad and to grieve, but to also be thankful and joyful for what the Lord has provided. And it's awesome that you have that perspective. So thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
how you're processing through all of this as a senior. One of the privileges you've had this last year is to serve as chapel coordinator and been very involved. You've even now led an e-chapel. So well done. That was really, really well put
Thank you.
together. You talked about grief and a lot of these same things that you're talking about now. But
Mhm.
yeah, what are you missing about the chapel experience right now? And what did that experience mean to you this past year?
That's a very good question. Um, yeah, right off the bat, it's the chapel setting is very unique. And I think that as students, we tend to take it for granted a little bit because it's a requirement. Um, but if you really take a step back and look at it a little bit more, it's not church. It's very different than church. It's not a Bible study, but it's a very cool setting where you just get to be with almost every other student on campus and worship and take in the same message. And so it's something that I really do miss a lot. Um, is being able to be in a room with every other student on campus and to worship with them. And even there's something to hearing the same message that you leave that day and know that tons of people that you don't know just heard the same thing and are talking about the same thing. Um, so I really do miss that a lot. We had opportunities to bring in a lot of really cool speakers um, and hear testimonies from students. So I've been very, very thankful as Brent and I have been brainstorming a little bit more and how to keep as much of that as possible, even while we're all at home. Um, that we've still been able to hear from students. We've still been able to hear from a lot of cool speakers. Um, a lot of us are still hearing the same message. And so I have been thankful that we've been able to accommodate some. Um, but yeah, it's been a great experience working with that team and being able to create and curate content for the student body. It's been a lot of fun.
You mentioned that you have stuff online, which means folks can check it out themselves, right? On YouTube,
Mhm.
you check out the
Yeah.
Grace College page. You can find the Grace College chapels that are being produced and have been produced this whole last year. What is, if you could pick one speaker or one moment
Mm.
from this last year of chapel that you're going to cherish long into the future? Can you pick one for us and tell us why it was so impactful?
That's a really hard question. um, yeah, there's been a lot of moments in chapel that I have loved, and it's so funny sitting with the team where I do. And maybe it's just having more of the background knowledge beforehand and not just kind of hearing something, but knowing a little more of the detail behind it. Um, it can be a little more moving at times, but it can also be so funny if something's said that you're like, oh boy. And so, yeah, we've had some really inspiring speakers come. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Um, we had Reverend Dr. Cynthia Hale come, and the passion speech she spoke with, I'm trying to remember exactly what she spoke on. Beautifully, beautifully said how she spoke. It is funny to me thinking through the last chapel that we had. Um, so the last week of chapel before we left, this sticks out partially because it was the last thing we did, um, and partially because it was the first time we'd ever done anything like it. Um, but we were at the beginning of the session, and Brent said, "We've got an entire week. I'd love to see you guys create something that you want to do that you think the campus could benefit from entirely by yourselves." And so usually we'll have kind of one day a session or 2 days a session. this was the first time that we had 3 in a row that we had to create content for. And so we spent a lot of time brainstorming for it and trying to think through what could our campus really benefit from right now. Ended up settling on this topic of comfort zones and how do we step out of our comfort zones and make sure that we're taking time to grow. And so we had 3 days in a row where we did that. We heard from students, we heard from faculty. The first day of that week, though, we were trying to think through what is the weirdest thing that we could do that would shake people up, but still get our point across. And we have this running joke about bringing animals in. And halfway through our meeting, one of our girls stands up and she goes, I know a guy that can bring animals. And so we ended up bringing several animals into chapel, which I think we had like snakes and a snapping turtle and lizards and birds, and had our chapel team like hold the animals and had their owner kind of explain them all to them. And it was the most entertaining thing I've ever seen in chapel. It was so funny and was able to be a very comedic relief, but also like be able to still draw the point in of, you know, our team is very uncomfortable right now holding these animals. They're stepping out of their comfort zone. And so for me, thinking through this last year chapel, that is probably the week that stands out the most to me, is the one that my team had such a big hand in coordinating, and something that I have seen very beneficial for students, something that people have talked about a lot, and something that was very different than what we have done, and something that is still, as I think about that week today, we talked about comfort zones right as we were about to be tossed out of it. And so, yeah, that's probably a week that has stood out to me a lot.
You definitely right theme for what everyone has experienced, right? I mean, we are all way out of our comfort zones.
Mm-hmm.
Remote learning, in remote chapel, and remote life, and trying to still maintain the Christ-centered community that we all love and cherish at Grace, despite being away from each other, which is not ideal, which is not the way that we like to do things or want to do things at Grace, but it's the situation in which we find ourselves, and we're out of our comfort zone. And it's neat to hear you, both as a leader on campus, and as a senior who's looking towards the future and reminiscing with friends, finding ways outside of your comfort zone to continue to lead and connect. And we so appreciate just the heart that you've had, even to continue building into our student body, even from a distance. And I just so appreciate your heart and willingness to stay involved with chapel and stay engaged with student life. And we just appreciate even you giving us some of your time today to talk about what you're experiencing. And we will be praying, and I'd call on everybody listening to pray for our seniors who have experienced such difficulty, but are persevering through, that God would give them strength for the future, hope for the future, and even joy in the midst of such grief as they remember times with friends and times on campus. And Emily, I'm really hoping we get to see you in person sometime in the fall to celebrate graduation. And I just really appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you guys for your prayers and your help and encouragement to seniors.
We appreciate it. We would love for you all to continue to join us on this day of giving with the Bring Them Back campaign. Help us bring students back to campus, returning students, new students, even our seniors who we'd love to help make sure can celebrate well their accomplishments over these last 3 or 4 years. And thank you all for the way that you've already given generously today, and please continue to join us. Have a great day.